Good evening. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute, and you better get the coleslaw, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue with this divestment disaster. Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight's going to be a special episode where I go in depth on this divestment disaster that I recently caught in a Mad Black 80 video. And as I was watching Mad Black 80 talk all about this foreign born black woman from the Caribbean and the disaster that she had with her white husband, I just had to shake my head because this story is just so sad. And it's just really sad because this woman basically wound up homeless because she basically got mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin. And as she got mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes and the creamy white skin of this white man that she decided to marry, this man basically kicked her out of his family's home in Alaska, and she wound up stranded in the middle of nowhere. And as she got stranded in the middle of nowhere, she basically presented a lot of talking points that showed me not only her dysfunction, but showed me his dysfunction as well. And I'm going to go in depth on this whole situation in this live stream. Now, I know I got a video coming out on it Sunday, but I wanted to delve a little bit deeper in this live stream, deconstructing many of the talking points she presents in her video.
Camaro that I financed under my name for my husband, who has now abandoned me for his good for nothing family. This is the car that I'm stuck with. It's really nice. Today is officially day one of me being homeless here in Alaska. And so, yes, guys, I am officially homeless. I'm currently here at this beautiful hotel here in Alaska. So it's not like I am on the streets, but I'm still homeless because I am without a permanent, stable place to stay for right now. But I will figure it out like I've always had to do.
Now, if you listen to this first talking point, you basically see the foundations of why this woman's relationship wound up failing. And this woman's relationship basically wound up failing because, one, she's one of these strong, independent black women who basically wants to go out here and do things on her own. And because she's been raised with this whole idea of doing things on her own, she basically goes out here and doesn't look for a man to have those traits that a man is supposed to have. And as a result, she basically got involved with this beta white male a beta white male who she basically wound up buying a brand new Camaro for to live in Alaska. And that should have been a red flag to this woman that this guy didn't have his own stuff, because if he's supposed to be a man, he's supposed to be the one taking the leadership role as related to the relationship. And he's supposed to be the one who's supposed to be the head. But this feminist indoctrinated woman couldn't see that this man was not ready to be a head due to the feminist indoctrination she had. And even worse, she was mesmerized and spellbound by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin of this white man, who basically talked her all the way to going to Alaska and had her going to Alaska to go live in her family's home. And that should have been, again, another red flag, because a married man is supposed to be able to take care of his own family and take care of his own business. But this dude basically wasn't ready to take care of his own business because he's moving her into his family's home. And that should have been a red flag for this woman, a red flag that let her know that this is not a man and basically is the white version of Pookie, the white version of Pookie who's basically out to be taken care of by a woman and not take care of himself as a man. Now, the other red flag I see in the early part of this video is she said that she bought this man a Camaro. Now, I want you to think critically about living in Alaska. Alaska is cold. Alaska, they use a lot of salt on the roads, and a sports car like a Camaro with a low center of gravity and rides low to the ground. This isn't a car that you drive in Alaska if you're living in Alaska. No, if you live in Alaska, you're going to have yourself a Dodge Ram, a Chevy Silverado, or a Ford F-150, or a Nissan Titan. You're going to have yourself a truck with a V8. You're going to have a truck with four-wheel drive because you're driving in rough terrain and rough snow conditions. And because you're driving on these rough snow conditions, basically what you're doing is you need a truck that's gonna wind up on those roads, and you need that truck to be able to take care of business. So this dude asking this woman to buy him a Camaro, that's a big red flag. And that's one of the things that shows me that this guy, again, is one of these beta males who is in a rose colored reality and not ready for manhood. But this woman, again, was mesmerized by this man, completely spellbound by his white skin, which, as the late David Carroll used to say, covered a multitude of sins and imperfections. And that's the reason why she's basically sitting in this expensive car homeless, because she didn't know how to pick a man and didn't know how to vet a man. Because I'm looking at the red flags of this dude and him sitting there saying, "Oh, we're going to live in a house with my family." That already shows you this man is not husband material and shows you this man is not ready to be a man. But this is the type of woman that not woman, but the kind of man that these kind of women like, because they basically think that they're going to be able to have power over that man in a codependent relationship. Now, I'm going to go further on in this video and continue to show you more of this woman's dysfunction and show you and break down the talking points that she makes in this video.
I uprooted my whole entire life from Massachusetts to follow behind my husband, who has now abandoned me for his family. And so
Now, this woman says that her husband abandoned her as she left to uprooted her life in Massachusetts. And again, that's another red flag that this woman should have been taking a look at. I mean, if a man wants you to follow behind him, usually when a man wants you to follow behind him, he has stuff set up and established. Usually he has his job, usually he has a residence, and usually he has ways to provide for that woman. He usually has this stuff in place ready to go so that when the woman comes in, she can help meet his needs there. But this dude basically has her uproot her life to go live with his family. And again, that's the behavior of not a man. And he basically abandoned his wife, which really shows me that this white man really wasn't following the Bible. No, he was basically still tethered to his mama because he basically was a mama's boy. Basically was a mama's boy because when it comes to the Bible, it clearly states that a man is supposed to forsake mother and father and cleave to his wife. But it shows me that this white man wasn't ready to cleave to his black wife. No, he wasn't ready to cleave to his black wife because he was still tethered to mommy's apron strings. And as he was tethered to mommy's apron strings, he basically wanted to continue receiving the benefits of the system of white supremacy. And because he wanted to continue seeing and getting the benefits of the system of white supremacy, what he wanted to do was basically stay with mommy because he didn't know how to be a man. And again, that shows by the juvenile decisions that this guy basically made. And these decisions were basically enabled by a woman who basically was looking to be in a relationship with this male, just like the one he had with his mother. Because when it comes to these kind of dudes, they basically don't want a woman to be the one that they have to go out here and lead because these dudes can't even lead themselves. No, when it comes to these mama's boys can't lead themselves. So they look for a woman to tether themselves onto the same way they tether themselves on to mommy. And that's basically what this woman wasn't really thinking about because, again, she was spellbound and mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes, that creamy white skin of that white husband, and basically wanted to follow this guy, thinking that she could go out here and follow him all the way to Alaska, and he would sweep her off her feet to happily ever after. But there was nothing happily ever after as related to this relationship because this Brad that she got involved with wasn't the Prince Charming that she thought she had. No, what she got was just a basic beta male who basically is no different than Pookie and Ray Ray on the block. And instead of him basically dropping her off at the job and him riding around in her car with the Rucci forged wheels and the Rucci steering wheel, this guy basically got her to go out here and finance a Chevrolet Camaro for him, a nice little sports car, which basically shows me again how immature this dude is. Just shows me how immature this dude is as related to his behavior, because this dude basically was not ready for manhood and definitely wasn't the kind of guy who was ready to be a husband. Because again, according to the Bible, a man is supposed to forsake mother and father and cleave to his wife. But this man wasn't looking to do no cleaving to this black woman. No, he was hoping that she would again go out here and allow him to be able to get her to drop the Victoria's Secret skid mark thong and allow him to get a taste of the atomic waste from the special place in chocolate and be able to have his taste of chocolate. That's what he was hoping to have with this woman. And as he hoped to have that with this woman, he didn't make any serious plans to be with this woman. Yeah, he got married on paper, but as related to his heart, he wasn't with her. And that really showed with his actions. And again, this woman wasn't reading his actions, just hearing his words, and just everything was coming out was true to her because, again, like the late David Carroll says, looks don't matter as long as he's white.
So I am now out here alone, homeless, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. Something happened with his mom yesterday. And long story short, she put hands on me. A lot of nasty things were said. She pretty much told me I was no longer welcome there at the house. Of course.
Now, this right here shows how weak this dude is. I mean, this statement right here from this woman, this statement just shows who is the real leader in that home. And it's not this man. And that's the whole thing that makes this whole divestment disaster so embarrassing. This dude is supposed to be the head of his marriage, the head of his home. And who is running his household? No, it's mama that's running his household, showing us that this dude isn't ready to be a man. I mean, this guy basically, again, is softer than vanilla ice cream out in the sun. But you have these women telling us, oh, this white man is better. But when I look at this white dude that this woman is involved with, it's no different than the Pookies on the block here in the Bronx. I mean, Pookie in the Bronx is just as weak that basically he's living in in his mama's house and has the audacity to bring his wife into his mama's house. That right in that of itself is weakness, because any man of character, he's not going to have go to his mama's house and bring his wife there, because when it comes to female nature, bringing another woman into your mama's house is, one, a testament to your weakness as a man, and two, shows you have no understanding of female nature, because when it comes to women, women naturally get jealous of each other. And when it comes to a mother, she basically has nested and made her home the way that she wants. And when a woman becomes a wife, she wants to nest as well. So you're going to have two people basically at odds with each other. And any smart man understands, no, mama and my wife ain't going to be in the same house, because if mama and my wife are in the same house, they're going to be hating on each other, and there's going to be a lot of friction. So no smart man is going to have his wife and his mama in his house, because it's just going to be a lot of arguments, a lot of fights. And if that house is in mama's name, guess what? Mama's putting people out of her house. And that's not an optimal situation you want to be in. No, not an optimal situation you want to be in. But this sister, sadly, didn't understand how things work as related to relationships, because I believe this woman, again, in addition to being spellbound, never had a father in her life to tell her about certain things, or even a mother to tell her things. And one of the things you don't want to do is move into another woman's house. You never want to move into another woman's house, because everything is in her name, and she will use that as leverage to get control in this situation. And when a person has to choose between their place to stay and you, basically that woman is basically out the door. And that's basically what happened here in this situation to this woman. She basically was put out the door because she got involved with a guy who basically did not have his stuff together, did not have himself ready to go. No, he was basically, yes, he was a white guy, but he was a white guy who wasn't in any way, shape, or form ready to take on man responsibilities, because a man who is ready to take on man responsibilities, he's going to understand, yeah, if I want to have my wife, I'm going to go out here and make sure that I have my stuff together before I even bring this woman into my life. I'm going to have my stuff together to at least have it where, even if I got a little studio apartment, it's our studio apartment, and it's going to be our place to stay, that we don't have to depend on nobody else. Because again, when you're on somebody else's property, you are at their rules and at things. And again, you don't want your wife to be in a place where she's dealing with stress, because she's dealing with mama. And again, having your wife in the same house as mama, that's not a good look. Optically, that's not a good look for a man. But this divester thought, oh, I'll go to Alaska and hashtag divest with this white man. This white man who basically has her in the same place as Pookie would. I mean, Pookie would have her in the same place, in the racing car bed, in mama's apartment or mama's house. And but in the case of Pookie, if he was black, this woman would be cooking and roasting this man. But in the case of this white guy, again, his white skin covers a multitude of sins and imperfections. So this woman basically just walked herself into this death trap, not understanding how bad the situation would be.
Kennedy's still welcome because that's his family. So he stayed there. I begged him to come with me. I begged him. I said, babe, we can figure this out.
Now, this statement right here shows how little respect this dude has for his wife. Again, if this is your wife, you don't abandon your wife. I mean, this is a woman who basically is a part of you now. If you've had sex with this woman, your spirit and DNA are a part of that woman. And this guy basically wound up discarding this woman because, again, he never really had no respect for her, had no respect for her at all, to basically abandon her. But that's par for the course with these mama boy beta males. These mama boy beta males will basically abandon their wife to be with mama. And they'll do this for a series of reasons. One reason is because they still have the emotional apron strings tied to their mama and they can't stand to be without her. So these guys will basically, again, forsake their girlfriend to be with mama because they basically still have a codependent relationship with mama. The other reason why this white dude basically stayed with his family is because he wanted to continue receiving the benefits from the system of white supremacy. Because under the system of white supremacy, this man received a lot of benefits from the system of white supremacy in that he would be able to maintain his white privilege. And he didn't want to chuck his white privilege card. So what he did was basically go out here and get rid of his black wife because having that white privilege meant more to him. And because that white privilege meant more to him than this black woman, he was willing to dump his wife and dump his wife because he understood that there are unwritten social rules as related to the system of white supremacy. And under those unwritten social rules of white supremacy, this white man, if he continued to stay in this relationship with this black wife, especially in a place like Alaska, which is very rural, he could wind up losing a lot of his benefits and privileges as a part of white supremacy. Because what the white people in that community would do is basically cut him off from their community, ostracize him from their community, and he would not be able to enjoy all of those benefits and amenities that he would receive under the system of white supremacy. No, this man would not be able to enjoy the benefits of white privilege given to him. So he decided that he was going to chuck this black wife and his dream car, this Camaro, because he knows that in the system of white supremacy, he could get another car. He knows in the system of white supremacy, he could go out here and get more money and get even another chocolate side piece. But the whole thing is, he knows that if he goes out here and sides with this black woman, as related to the way you're supposed to side with your wife in God's order, he basically would just be out here completely ostracized. So that's why he basically threw his wife out of the house, because he needs his benefits from white supremacy more than he needs this black woman. And I go in depth on this in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, in the chapter about white men and black women who call themselves hopping the fence. What happens to a lot of these women is they think, oh, I can hop the fence and get a man who is white, and that white man will be better. But what happens in many cases is that they find out that they get the same guy in a different color, and they get the same guy in a different color because when it comes to these women, they don't see that the problem isn't the men in their life. The problem is them. And the problem is them because they are what they attract. And what this woman did was basically attract a Dusty to her because she's basically Dusty herself.
I hate when your family is in the middle of our affairs because it's like it's a recipe for disaster to have anyone really in the middle of a marriage. To have anyone involved in your relationship is a recipe for disaster. And
Well, who created the recipe for disaster again? This man is supposed to be the leader and the head of that relationship, and he's supposed to be the one supposed to be leading the family. And as your head, he's supposed to be the one setting the boundaries for your relationship and setting the boundaries for your family, and telling them that they need to respect your wife. That's what a man is supposed to do. But this guy, again, is nothing but jelly, and he's again just a wimp. And that's the reason why again is letting his family basically say all this stuff, because he's a weak man. No, a man of character is going to start checking people and saying, "Look, you're not going to disrespect my wife, and if you talk about my wife like that, I'm not going to deal with this stuff." And let people know where the line is. But this guy didn't let anybody know where the line is. And that's why he was letting people disrespect his wife. And his wife is sitting there getting disrespected, basically getting disrespected because, again, this dude, again, had a backbone made out of toilet paper. And this backbone made out of toilet paper basically showed how he was just a weak dude. And again, you can see all the beta male behavior on display here. And that's what you got here right now.
Since we've been here, his family has been all up in our business, all up in our Kool-Aid, in between our marriage, saying this, saying that, whispering in his ears. And it's like, there's no privacy. And so I said, look, let's leave. Let's figure it out. Let's stay at a hotel for as long as we can.
No, he can't leave. He's not going to leave because weak dudes do not leave. And this is what this woman doesn't understand. Again, he don't want to leave because he needs mommy. He needs mommy to go out here and hug him. He needs mommy to go out here and hold his hand. I mean, he needs mommy to do things. So what I'm hearing in this statement is she's trying to take the lead because this guy is weak and she's getting frustrated with this dude. This is what happens with beta males, whether they be white or black, whether it be white or black, when it comes to beta males, women start to get frustrated like this. And they start to get frustrated like this because they see this man not taking the lead. They don't see this man asserting himself. They don't see this man setting boundaries. And when they see this, they try to rally behind this guy, but there's no rallying behind this guy because he can't stand up for himself because he's got no backbones. He's got no stones. I mean, his testicles are basically in the Birkin bag of his mama. And that's basically shown here by the emasculated way that this dude is acting. This dude basically is, again, acting completely emasculated because his wife is sitting in a car she bought for him and basically saying we need to leave when the thing that she should have done was study this guy before she got married to him.
Can get an Airbnb, something. Find us an apartment. But we don't need to depend on your family. We don't need to depend on your grandma. You've seen the way they've treated us, treated you. Like, let's just go. And he told me no. I said, so you're gonna choose your family, your good for nothing family at that. And he's told me everything that his family has ever done to him. They abandoned him at an early age. He was forced to be on the streets at 14, 15, living from place to place, bouncing from place to place, because his family gave up on him and abandoned him. And we bonded over that.
Now, here's a real serious problem with this guy. Again, he's basically, again, showing me he's a pookie because he's talking about how she's saying that his family basically abandoned him and did him bad. And basically, that's what happens when you're dealing with a pookie. A pookie really is one of these guys who he doesn't have any focus, doesn't have any direction, doesn't know how to, again, go out here and do things because he has no male life skills or male survival skills. And when it comes to this dude, he basically, he was a white guy, but he was no different than Pookie in just that he possibly had some good looks, possibly had a little bit of what they call swagger. And that's what basically made this woman's Victoria's Secret thong get a little bit of a stain. And when she saw him, she saw things that she had in common with him, but didn't really see that there was no way you could, again, go out here and help this guy because she herself couldn't really help herself. And again, was looking to be a helpmeet to a man who couldn't help himself. And that really shows here as related to this whole dysfunctional state, which basically proves another point I made in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, that like attracts like. And when it comes to like attracting like, these two basically have a lot in common. And it's just shown by the statement she makes now.
Pretty much it was like trauma bonding because I also experienced similar situations with my family where I felt alone and I wasn't necessarily abandoned by my family, but I was abused a lot. And eventually I left home to join the military and I never really looked back. And so we bonded over the fact that our families weren't the best and all we had really was each other. So for you to now choose that situation over your wife, especially knowing that I gave.
Well, here's where this woman gets a lot of stuff twisted. I mean, she has a solution in front of her. If things are really bad, she can just go back to the military. That's an option that she has. If she's been in the military, she can go back to the military and re-enlist. They'll give you base housing as a start. And when it comes to this dude, again, she says that there was trauma bonding. Now, that trauma bonding basically proves a point that I made in Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, that like attracts like. And again, like the guy Ryan is saying, it's a dust magnet. And again, Dusty is attracting Dusty. And as Dusty is attracting Dusty, basically this woman went out here and looked to create this covert contract where she thought, oh, I'll be able to fix this dude up. I'll be able to help him rebuild himself. This is the whole covert contract that many women create with Pookie, is that they think, oh, if I go out here and invest in him, he'll eventually look to try to rebuild himself. But the problem with Pookie is he doesn't know what building is, because Pookie has no understanding of male life skills, has no understanding of male survival skills, has no understanding of how to function in the world, has no understanding of how to make things work. And that's what this woman didn't understand. She thought she was going to get a fixer upper in this Brad, thought she was going to be able to fix and repair this dude, but this dude was basically broken from the beginning. And that's the thing that many women don't understand, especially a lot of the black women out here. They don't understand that if the dude is broken by his mama, there's no fixing him, because when it comes to men and women, they are as is, and what as you see them is who they will be, and you have to accept what they are in front of you, and there's no transforming them, because if mama couldn't get this dude right, you've got next to no way to get this dude on point, because when you're dealing with a dude like this, he is the sum of his mama, who was his first teacher, and with his mama being his first teacher, if she didn't teach him what he needed to know, and his father didn't prepare him for the world as a man, you're basically going to be stuck with a child who's stuck in a state of arrested development. And it's basically going to be like living with a child. And this woman basically, again, proves the point that I make, that it's like living with a child. And you start to become frustrated with that child, because you're expecting this man to take the responsibilities of a man, but he can't take the responsibilities of a man because he was never taught how to take responsibility, because mama wound up coddling him, grandmama wound up coddling him. So this dude don't know how to function like a man. But this woman, even with her military background, thought, oh, she could whip him into shape. But that's not how it works in God's order, because in God's order, the woman follows the man, and the woman is the helpmeet to a man. So if this man is not equipped to be able to function in the world, then you're stuck with a lemon of a dude. And when you're stuck with a lemon of a dude, he don't know how to do anything. And having him at your side is worse than having a child at your side, because a child will eventually grow up, but this dude basically is never going to grow up, and it's just going to become more frustrating and overwhelming to you.
Gave up everything to move here with you. It's crazy. And the reason why my husband had to move here to Alaska is because years ago he had a warrant out for his arrest, and he fled the state. Instead of staying here and taking care of the warrant, he fled the state. He got it.
That should have been an indicator to her to just charge this guy to the game, because it already proves, again, another point that I make about Pookie. Pookie can't take responsibility. I mean, this man had a warrant for his arrest, and with the warrant for his arrest, he basically fled the state. So this should have been a red flag to her, because if he'll flee the state on criminal charges, guess what this dude will do when he gets involved with you and things start to get hard? He's basically going to leave you. And that's basically what this dude did at the hint of some conflict. At the hint of some conflict, the first thing this dude did was basically flee the marriage, basically fitting within his pattern and profile, and the pattern and profile of Pookie beta males, because Pookie beta males, whenever they run into a conflict or an obstacle, the first thing they do is run, because they basically want to continue maintaining living in their smooth world. And that's what happened to this woman as related to this guy, who again was out here. He didn't take care of his business, and then decided to bring his wife to go and be a part of his life, because he wanted another mommy to help take care of his business, because he is not ready or fit to take responsibility. And that's why I always go against policies like bail reform, because Pookie can't handle basic responsibility, and asking him to take responsibility is something he can't do, because mama never taught him how to do it, and daddy never insisted that he do it. And that's what happened here with this woman. She's thinking again, like many black women did with the black Pookies, oh, I'll just stay with him and help him out. But this dude is again beyond help because he doesn't want any help. Because if he can't manage his own life, he can't manage a marriage.
To an accident. It was him and his friend. His friend got permanently injured from the accident, so his friend is currently still in a hospital, and it's now 2024. So yeah, and this happened back in like 2017, I believe 2018. So he finally decided to take care of the situation. That's why we're back here in Alaska. He's looking into house arrest, but of course, with house arrest, you have to have stability. You have to have established yourself here in the state. So he got a job even before we got here.
Look at the white privilege here. I mean, I want y'all to listen to this story. I mean, look at the white privilege that dude has. I mean, look at this white privilege that's being presented to you. I mean, this guy basically gets into an accident, which possibly is a felony, runs away, and then comes back to the state and is given house arrest. And under the house arrest is still allowed to work and even get a job. And even with this white privilege given to this white man, under the system of white supremacy, this bottom shelf Brad can't even get himself up on his feet. I mean, that's really the most embarrassing thing about this whole situation. Even with all of these privileges given to this white dude, he still can't get himself up off his feet, can't get himself up on his feet. I mean, this guy basically got a slap, like Z can say, a slap on the wrist because we know a black man, if he had did the same thing, got into an accident, fled the scene, and left the state, this dude would be in the penitentiary right now with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles fending off their advances as they look to try to offer him some Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, Hunt snack pack puddings, and all the items of the commissary. That black man would be in that penitentiary, basically stuck in there for years, waiting for his trial, and then basically on a sentence. But this white guy, given all these opportunities, and even gets this black woman to support him, still can't get his stuff together, and just shows you how the white privilege is. And again, with this black woman, I believe I agree with DWT 1975 when he says she's not upset about the disrespect. She's more hurt from the rejection because for her, being rejected by this white man, again, is like being rejected by God. Because in the case of many of these women like this who want to hashtag divest, they are hurt that the white man that they saw as God has rejected them. And that's what leads to her having this broken heart because this white man wound up rejecting them and they won't be able to be with their prince charming with his crystal blue eyes and his creamy white skin. No, they won't be able to be with that white man, and that's the thing that hurts the most because a lot of these women like this love to brag, I got me a white man, I got me a white dude, I'm with a white guy. It's just so great. And it's not really great because basically she didn't get a white man like Madison Avenue in Hollywood told her she would get. No, what she got was a bottom shelf Brad. And this bottom shelf Brad basically is like what everything I've said as related to these whole situations. These women don't go out here and get the high value white guys. No, they get the beta male mama's boys. And these beta male mama's boys are the ones that the white woman does not want. And the reason why he's on the market is for a reason. He's on the market for a reason because most of these women basically cannot think critically because they're emotional and they just see the white skin, but they don't understand there's a reason why these white men are on the shelf. There's a reason there because the white women don't want these guys because they are not men who are strong, not men who are masculine, not men fit for leadership. Because this dude basically is showing all the character traits of a person who is not ready for manhood, regardless of race. This dude is showing us all he is not ready for manhood because, again, a man would have his stuff together and would not be living off his mama and then looking for his wife to sit there and take this disrespect. sit there and take disrespect because he would be looking to protect his wife. I mean, I don't see no protection for this black woman from this white man. And that's telling because here's you're one of the roles of a man as related to his wife in God's order is to protect his wife and protect his wife because, again, when you marry, you forsake mother and father to cleave to your wife. And part of cleaving to your wife is protecting your wife from not only the dangers outside of the home, but also from family members to let them know where the boundary is as related to respect. Because the way they disrespect her is the way they disrespect you, because your wife is a reflection of you. And if they disrespect her, they disrespect you because you or two are married. And again, if he allows her you to be disrespected, he basically is saying that nobody needs to respect him either.
And so when we got here, he started to work like 2 days later. And the reason why he feels like, I guess he has to stay with his grandma is because it's stable, and he feels like we won't get an apartment or something.
No, he's staying with his grandma because he wants those benefits of white supremacy. That's what flies over the head of this woman. She's thinking, oh, I'm staying for the stability of grandma. No, that's not even all of it at all. No, he's staying for the benefits of white supremacy because in the system of white supremacy, that's his daily bread. And he doesn't want to jeopardize his daily bread by and going out here and messing that up, because if you mess things up with these white folks, they will ostracize you. If you go out here and call yourself doing things like getting involved with people and bringing them into your community, they will cut you off socially. This is something that white folks do all the time. They will cut people off if they go out here and do things like call themselves getting involved with interracial relationships. I mean, white people move, a lot of the white racists move by making silent moves as related to these unwritten social rules. And this guy basically didn't want to lose his ability to have that white privilege. And that's why he basically kicked this black woman out, because he didn't want to lose his white privilege and didn't want to see himself be outside of those circles that basically fed his family for years. And he knew where his bread was buttered and basically thought, oh, I'll go out here and get this taste of chocolate. But when he decided to bring this black woman to Alaska, that's where she basically ran into this racism that she's completely oblivious about. I mean, completely oblivious. I'm looking at this woman and it just makes me shake my head. I mean, you're completely oblivious to the racism here, because this woman, again, is completely spellbound. She thought she could fit herself into the black box that's acceptable to white people, but those white racists basically have a series of unwritten social rules as related to how they operate. And she's completely oblivious to all of this. And it's sad to see her completely oblivious to this. I mean, you're in Alaska, that's a predominantly white area, and there are unwritten social rules as related to Alaska, unwritten social rules as related to Alaska and white folks. And again, when you're the only black person there, sadly, some of these people they are completely clueless, and that's what I see happening here with this woman.
More permanent in time for him to apply for his house arrest, because it takes about 30 days. And he's saying that he has less than 30 days, but I don't know. It's complicated. So that's pretty much why we're here. I didn't really want to be here. My plan initially was to stay in Massachusetts, have him come alone. But how could I, as a wife, allow my husband to deal with something like this alone? So we don't have that.
You should have never married this dude in the first place. I mean, marriage is for people who have their stuff together. Marriage is for a place for people who have their life in order. I mean, a man who gets married is because he's ready to build and ready to build his own family. But this dude basically, I believe, wound up marrying this woman all because what he wanted to do was basically have a background situation where he needed to have somebody to be his backup to take care of him if things didn't work out in Alaska. And this woman, she basically should have stayed in Massachusetts because this man is not ready for manhood. He's not ready for leadership. He's not ready for anything. But this woman basically, because she was desperate, decided to possibly marry this man. And I believe that she possibly was the one who wound up making the marriage proposal to this dude. I believe that she was the one making the marriage proposal to dude because she herself couldn't take care of her own business as related to her personal life. And what she thought she was going to do was be able to get this fixer upper and be able to fix him up into the man of her dreams. But this man was not the man of her dreams. He basically was, again, Pookie out here. And Pookie basically left her in a situation where he basically was stuck choosing between Mama and his wife, and he chose white supremacy because white supremacy again was his official religion because he's not really honoring God. No, not honoring God at all. And that's what happened with this woman who hoped to divest from the black community in Massachusetts and wound up stuck in this complete divestment disaster.
That kind of money to get a second vehicle. This vehicle was already expensive enough. We had to pay $6,000 on the down payment for a $15,000 vehicle. I still have
$15,000. I mean, this must be one of them V6 Camaros from the way I'm looking at the cloth seats because this ain't no leather like on the top end Camaros like the ZL1s or the Z28s. I mean, this looked like one of them base model Camaros with the V6 or maybe even one with the inline four. So she basically overpaid for this car and basically overpaid for a car that really this guy wanted because it was a car that he wanted possibly as a young adult or a teenager and not the car of a man who lives in Alaska. Because if you live in Alaska, again, like I said at the early part of the stream, you're going to be driving a Dodge Ram, like it's an older Dodge Ram, an older Ford F-150 or a Ford F-350 or an older Nissan Titan. You're going to be driving an older truck because older trucks are what you're going to use down there because the roads are constantly being salted and you need four-wheel drive for that area. But that just shows the state of arrested development that this dude was in because, again, he was looking to get with this woman to get his dream car. And as he got her to get his dream car, this was putting off any red flags for her. I mean, she should have been saying to herself, okay, if this dude was, again, supposed to have his stuff together, he would be able to start talking about saving his own money to get his own car. That's what a man would do because a Camaro is not a car that you drive daily. No, a Camaro, from what I've seen from guys who are car enthusiasts, is a car you buy, you put in the garage, and then you drive it in the summer. You don't drive no Camaro out in the winter. That's not a car you drive in the winter. Usually, when it comes to rural areas, people have their truck, which they do use as their daily driver. And in the summertime, when it's a little nicer, what they do is they get themselves that car that they like to drive, and they have that car in the garage. But because this woman really was living in a rose-colored reality, she couldn't see how she was dealing with a guy who was stuck in a state of arrested development, a perpetual teenager, because you don't be driving no Camaro out in no Alaska at all. No, this is not the car you be driving in Alaska as a daily. No, the car you drive in Alaska as a daily is basically, again, it's a beater. And in some cases, if you do drive a car that, like out here, it's an older car like a Grand Am or something like that. Because I've seen many guys who have car video channels, and they'll tell you, no, this nice car is not the one you be driving every day. But this woman ran to the dealership to buy this car under a really poor financing plan, and you could have easily gotten the same car at the auction for a lot less. Could have got the same car at the auction for a lot less. But this woman wound up paying this high price, and she stuck with this car all because she just basically was thinking about this guy just being a white guy. And that white guy basically wound up messing up her finances because, again, you're stuck paying for this car, you're paying for this hotel every day, and your whole life is a mess. And again, this is why women need a man of character to lead them, because a man of character is not going to walk her into situations that mess her finances up like this. No, a man of character isn't going to walk a woman into a situation like this and jam her up. But the whole thing is this woman, again, strong and independent, only wants this white man. But this white man is showing us all that she's not ready for prime time.
close to 10 grand left to pay off on the loan. It's like we can't afford. On top of that, our insurance is.
Well, why you buy this car? I mean, you just got here. If you just get here, all you need is a beater truck, and you don't need no fancy new car. All you need is out here a beater Grand Am or something like that, a late model car. You just need an A to B transportation, and it's really sad. I mean, this woman basically sitting up here in a V6 Camaro. I mean, like Vincente Stinson said, and again, yeah, a lot of these guys will drive the V6 Camaros and the V6 Challengers and the four-cylinder cars. And I remember those four-cylinder Neons with the spoilers and the with the lips and all that stuff. I mean, these guys will be driving around in these kind of cars thinking that they're a big shot. But the whole thing is, this woman basically, you paid all this money for a V6 Camaro because this ain't no V8. I'm telling you, from the interior of this car that she's sitting in, this is one of them cheap V6 or one of them four banger Camaros because the really nice ones, again, have that leather interior. And I'm looking at the seats, I'm looking at the interior. You paid all this money, $15,000 for really, again, a one of the lower end Camaros. And again, shows me why when some women again go out here and make these poor choices, they really get played because this same V6 Camaro, you could go to the auction and get it for I think about maybe $5,000 to $7,000 every day, completely paid for. But this woman goes to the dealership and gets financing, and I'm sitting there going, no, you never get financing when you buy in a car. No, when you buy in cars, you always go out here and one, you always make sure you have cash. Two, you always make sure you get an inspection of that car. And three, you always go out here and understand what you're buying. But this guy, again, basically saw this car and got emotional like a female. Oh, it's a Camaro. I want to have a Camaro. But it's like, dude, this is a V6. And, they are not as valuable as one of the other ones. Again, the ones like Z01, Z28, those are Camaros. Those have the nice leather interiors. Those have the nicer features. I mean, it's a much better car. But she went out here and spent all this money on this car and just didn't really think about anything. And now she's getting ripped off and sadly sitting up here complaining about it.
500 some dollars because initially it was only 200 and something, but when I had to add my husband to the insurance, it bumped up because my husband has had a lot of accidents and stuff in the past.
Well, why are you buying him this car? If he's had a lot of accidents, why are you buying him a Camaro? Again, Camaro is a sports car. It has sports car handling. You're basically, again, putting a loaded weapon in this man's hands. He's already had one car accident. Why would you go out here and buy him another sports car to have another accident? No, if he's out here and he's had accidents, no, he getting a four banger Grand Am or he's getting one of these little Honda Civics. That's what he's getting when he's had accidents. He's getting the old beater. I mean, he can drive the Chevy Aveo or something like that. You don't go buy no man no Camaro because again, Camaro has a lot of power. Even with the V6, it has a lot of power, and you really need to know what you're doing when you're driving. But this guy again has multiple accidents, and she's complaining, "Oh, I have to pay $500 in insurance on top of paying these ridiculous car payments." Again, all of that could have been avoided had this woman had a man of character to sit down and give her some guidance and say, "Nah, you don't need this dude. Don't need no Camaro if he's again under house arrest. All he needs is A to B transportation. All he needs right now to do is get his life in order. He gonna get the A to B transportation. He gonna get that Nissan Versa, that Nissan Sentra. He gonna get that Honda Civic or one of them old late model Accords, and he'll be driving that. But he ain't getting no Camaro because again, he ain't worked his way up to no Camaro. And any man who's a builder would sit there and say, "Nah, we're not buying you no Camaro because Camaros are not for guys who are built. They're got for guys established." But this woman didn't understand this, and that's why she's in a fiscal situation because she's again proving a point I made in my book, The Woman Crisis, about how some women are fiscally irresponsible, and because they're fiscally irresponsible, they drive themselves into debt with their bad decisions. And the decisions she's made as related to this case basically are ones that have messed her up. I mean, you're paying this $500 car payment on this car You now have insurance. And again, if this man has kicked you out, then kick him off your insurance. That will knock your insurance down. But this woman, again, is all in her emotions and not thinking critically about her own fiscal situation and really doesn't think much about her decisions. And it clearly shows me that this woman, again, as a so called divester, doesn't know how to invest, doesn't know how to invest in a man, doesn't know how to invest in a relationship, and doesn't know how to take care of her own business because you're stuck in a fiscal hole because you don't know how to manage your own money or take care of your own business.
So we can't afford another vehicle. And so I was like, what? Why is she so mad that I asked my husband for a key to a vehicle that's mine? And so I was just so confused. And I called my husband. I said, you know what? Look, I am going to give the vehicle over to you guys. Since it's such a problem that I'm asking for the key to a vehicle that I own, it's under my name. I said, what we can do is go to the car dealership, you and your mom, since your family always wants to be bragging about how $80,000 is nothing to them. They always want to brag about their multiple houses and properties and money that they have in the bank. I said, why don't your mom help you then? So that
Well, why didn't you look out for yourself? I mean, that's the question I got to ask here. I mean, this woman basically again put herself in a fiscal situation. I mean, you're putting a car in a guy's name and nobody smart does that because if this guy has an accident, you're liable for that accident. If he has an accident, you're liable for it. I mean, this was again the kind of situation I've seen many women get into when I used to watch Judge Joe Brown. I remember I used to watch Judge Joe Brown in the mid 2000s and he would have people on there and they would go out here and get into accidents and then the woman has to take care of all that. And again, this man basically had her out here like his mommy, and she's saying, oh, I had to fight to get these keys. No, there's no fight to get keys, because if it's my car, he's not getting keys to my car. No, he gonna get his own car. And again, a man of character wouldn't want his woman driving him, being given him a car, because that just shows how emasculated he is. But this woman couldn't see this at all and basically couldn't see it at all because she didn't really understand what it meant to be a man or understood how to work in a relationship with a man. This is something many feminist indoctrinated women don't understand. They don't understand how to work in a relationship with a man. They think they can buy him things like cars and use them as attachments or use them as leverage to try to control that man. But there's no controlling this dude because, again, his heart belongs to mama, and mama has him like a son husband in a codependent relationship. And in that codependent relationship, she's the one who basically has complete control over this dude, has complete control over this dude to the point where she basically can control this man. And really, you're dealing again with a codependent person who is not even worth having the time to be around. But this woman, again, all she saw was white skin and thought, oh, white meant competent, white meant leadership, white meant that he could do things. Because under the system of white supremacy, many of these black women, whether they be foreign or Western or American, they think that white means that this man is capable of being responsible. But what they don't understand is that when a man is not raised with a father, like this dude was, because it's clear to me this dude basically was raised by grandma and in a home with women, because I'm looking at the actions of this man. And again, they are completely weak actions. This is a weak dude all around, completely weak, and has no sort of backbone. I mean, this whole situation is a mess because this man wasn't fit for leadership. And because he wasn't fit for leadership, he's got his woman taking care of him because he can't take care of business himself.
And my husband came and he was trying to reason with me. He was pretty much condoning her behavior. And I was like, nah, like, you see, this is what I'm talking about. I don't feel protected by you. I told him straight up, I do not feel protected by you. I feel like, you don't put me first. Don't you see that's ruining our.
That's where this woman, again, she's showing again, proving my points about protection, just that I made a minute ago. That when a woman is out here, she wants to be protected by a man, and this guy again is taking his mother's side. And again, he don't see how weak he's coming across. He don't see how weak he's coming across as related to this situation. Google sent me over here. She said that she was paying the car insurance and she was paying for everything, but the whole thing is she thought, again, like you said, he's got a social come up. She thought she was going to elevate her social status, but this guy really wasn't doing anything at all. She really wasn't doing anything at all as related to elevating her social status, because this man basically was not in a position to elevate her. No, he was looking for her to take care of him like mommy, and he was looking for mom. But the whole thing is, a relationship with your woman is different from that of your mother. I've talked about this in multiple videos. A relationship with your wife is different from your mother, because your mother can look out for you when you're a son, but when you are a man, your wife is looking for you to take that leadership role. And this is what beta males don't understand. This is what beta males don't understand. And that's why they are not fit to be men, because they think, oh, the woman's supposed to take care of me, because under feminism, they believe men and women are equal. But this woman basically walked into a situation. She's now in this hotel, and her husband basically, I believe, came to see her. And as he came to see her and possibly go out here and basically be able to get her to drop that skid mark jockey thong and allow himself to get a taste of the atomic waste inside of the hotel when they participate in some nuclear fusion. This is where this guy basically shows how pathetic he is, because your woman is sitting in a hotel and you at mama's house. That's some weak stuff right there. But you'll have many of the swirlers and divestors saying, oh, being with this white man is better than being with a black man. And we'll sit there and tear a black man down. But this guy basically shows weakness all around, because listen to what she's saying in this whole situation. I mean, your wife is out here spending money to be in a hotel, and you're not paying to take care of her. So this whole thing is a disaster all around. And again, shows us that the grass isn't greener on the other side, that it just smells like crap, looks like crap, and tastes like crap. And this is a crappy situation this woman has gotten herself in. And it's, again, one that she basically got in on her own, because she thought, oh, this white guy will be a come up. But it seems like everything just blew up in her face.
Relationship. And so me and him started arguing back and forth. I don't know where his mom went at that point, but at that point, I was over it. So I slammed the door. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be dealing with this shit no more. I really don't want to argue in the first place. So I simply slammed my room door. All of a sudden, I heard his mom yelling, don't be slamming that effing door, blah, 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 blah. Mind you, it's not her house. All I hear is her running up the stairs. Mind you, she is drunk. Like, this woman stays drinking.
That's white folks. White folks love to drink. So I don't know where this woman has been going, but every place I've gone, white folks love them some alcohol. And that's just how things go over there.
This woman drinks like 12 cans of beer every day. She's an alcoholic, right? And I know how crazy she gets when she starts drinking. So I already expected her to try to do something.
No, she didn't get crazy just because of the alcohol. She also got crazy because of the jealousy, because women can't stand other women in their home, in their nest. And what's really telling here about her story is that basically it's showing me that it's generational dysfunction, because they say they're in grandma's house. So mama basically got with a man who wasn't a man. And that's basically why this beta male is with this woman, because mama didn't understand how to have a man around her son that could model manhood for her. And that's why he's getting involved with this woman. And basically, this woman is again expressing all the frustrations I say that many women wind up frustrated about. In my book, The Man Crisis, I talk about all women get frustrated with these kinds of men. And this woman is basically proving my points as related to that argument.
But at the same time, like, what she did next caught me by surprise, guys. So anyways, all I hear is her running up the stairs. Boom, boom, boom. I told you not to slam that effing door. This woman busts down the door. Mind you, I am naked in my room. I had just hopped out the shower, guys. I am naked. I literally had to grab a blanket and cover myself real quick because this woman busts through the door. I said, yo, don't you see I'm naked? What are you doing? Like, you're invading my privacy.
Like she cares, because when it comes to white racists, they don't care. It's their property and they see it as their space. They can do whatever they want in their stuff. And if their name is on the deed, they're gonna go out here and be able to walk in whatever they want, because they don't respect you as a person. They don't respect your relationship. They don't even respect you at all. And that's what this woman is finding out. And again, oblivious to the racism going on, because I doubt she would do that with a white woman that her son got involved with. And even then, she would possibly still be disrespectful to a point because, again, women don't like other women. Women get jealous of other women with their sons. And a lot of these women don't want to let the apron strings go because they're getting in their old age and they need that son to take care of them. And that's what's happening here as related to this whole relationship. The woman is upset because her son is basically showing examples of manhood and looking to try to be a man. But the whole thing is that this man is dysfunctional and he doesn't understand that when you are a man, you have to have your own home because your mama and your girlfriend, they ain't going to get along because you're going to have a power struggle, and you're going to have a power struggle because that woman wants to be the head, the manager of that home, and mama doesn't want to go out here and sit back and let this other woman take over the place that God has really put her to be. Because this is when you get married again, I will repeat it once more. I know some people don't like it when I repeat things, but the whole thing is I want to drive points home. And again, like the late David Carroll would say, repetition is the mother of skill. And again, when a man and a woman forsake mother and father, they cleave to each other. And again, as they cleave to each other, the two of them become one. And the woman is looking for you to be her head. She's looking for you to be the one who provides leadership. And this, what's happening in this situation is that the women are leading, and as the women are leading, it's creating chaos all around. Because again, you've got all this drama going on, and this man ain't checking a single thing because your wife shouldn't be in a place where she can have no privacy and no space for herself. I mean, but when you have white racists, they again think that, oh, this is my house, I'll do whatever I want, and basically treated this woman like a slave. But this woman basically couldn't see the racism because again, she's mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes, that creamy white skin, completely spellbound by this situation, completely spellbound by looking to fit herself in a black box that will be acceptable to these white people. But these white people basically want to take all of that away from her and basically want to throw that box straight into the trash.
And what's so crazy is the day before, I had a long sit down with her, a talk with her about people in the house invading my privacy. I remember one time, me and my husband, we were about to get it in, and tell me why his cousin bust down the door. Like, my husband's.
They don't respect you, woman. They don't respect you. And you're sitting here talking about how dude want to get it in and get that little Vienna sausage inside of that atomic waste reactor. I mean, you sitting up there talking about he want to get it in. I mean, this dude, if he wanted privacy, again, he could have gone out here and got y'all a place. I mean, that's what a man is supposed to do so that he has a space to be with his woman. But this guy, he don't even understand how to do that. But this guy don't, he just is weak all around. I mean, you sitting up there talking about you trying to get it in and the cousin showing up. I mean, you know, some of these white guys, they basically is freaky deaky like that. They kind of on that deviant tip like that. Talk about that in the man crisis too. But this woman basically sitting up here talking about how this man just basically disrespected her. And again, her family disrespects her and sits there and doesn't really see the big picture as related to things, doesn't see the big picture as related to everything. And it's just really sad and embarrassing to watch all of this go on.
Thing was dang near about to slide in, and this cousin bust down the door while we were about to do it. Luckily, the room was dark, so we couldn't really see, but I'm like, what the heck? And so I literally had a sit down talk with his mom about that, about me feeling disrespected, about people not understanding boundaries.
Why are you talking to mama? You need to be talking to this dude about getting your own spot. I mean, this whole situation with this divester is happening because this dude doesn't have his own spot. If this would all be solved by him having his money right and getting his own spot. I mean, if you are again a guy who's just on house arrest and you're trying to get stuff together, you shouldn't be with no woman. You need to be on your own, working this stuff out. I mean, you need to be by yourself and stay into yourself until you have stuff together. And then if you get stuff together and get yourself established and get your bills paid up and everything consistent, that's when you bring a woman into your life. And this guy clearly isn't ready for a relationship because he's talking to mama about her house which she has no jurisdiction over, because if her name is on the deed or the grandmama's name is on the deed, then she has a right to say what goes on in her house and talk about, oh, they're disrespecting me in my house. No, you need to be going and talking to this man about getting a house for both of you. This is the guy you need to be talking to, not talking to mama, because talking to mama basically shows that this woman really sees the woman as the authority figure, sees the woman as the authority figure, and doesn't see the man as any sort of leader at all. I mean, this is a pathetic situation as related to this woman she got herself involved with. And the more I watched this video, I watched the whole video all through before I came on the air because I had to do another video about it. And this is why I had to go more in depth on this, because I want people to understand what's happening in this divestment situation to make it a divestment disaster, a disaster all around, because this woman basically thought, oh, I'll get with this white guy and things will be better. But we see that the grass on the other side looks like crap, tastes like crap, and smells like the same crap that you would get from Pookie and Ray Ray. And a lot of these women, again, sit there and think because the white man's ice is colder, she doesn't think that what's in that ice is just crap. And now she's in a crappy situation inside of a hotel, basically paying for a hotel where this guy possibly is getting him some booty calls on the side. And his wife is in a hotel and not being taken care of. And that's what's really sad about this whole situation all around. That's what's really sad here about this situation all around, is that this is a sad case of, again, of what happens with a divester. They look to leave the black community, but wind up in a ghetto and wind up in another ghetto in another part of the world because their mind is all messed up. And because their mind is all messed up, they get involved with the same toxic dudes. And those toxic dudes basically do the same things as Pookie and Ray Ray, but because they're a different color, many of these women can't see what's going on with these dudes and how they're basically in the same dysfunctional situation.
And not respecting my boundaries and all that. And she turns around and does the same thing to me. So then we're arguing back and forth, whatever. I tell her, get out of my room multiple times. She wouldn't leave. Eventually, after we were done arguing, she left. Fine. Boom. I thought that was over with. I'm packing my stuff up to leave, y'all. So her breast is literally touching my breast because we're about to.
Well, we know them white folks are freaky deaky like that. I mean, she need to understand when it comes to some of these white folks, yeah, they like touching the boobies of their boobies with other boobies. Now she's saying it's because they was going head up and face to face. I know that type of thing because I've seen a lot of hood rats get into it like that. But the whole thing is she basically was getting into it with this woman. And again, getting into this woman as she was packing up her stuff because they wanted to, again, send a message to her that she's not only not welcome, but not to come back here. And she's not seeing the big picture because she can't see the racism going on. No, so spellbound by those crystal blue eyes and that creamy white skin and that Vienna sausage between that white man's legs, she can't see that none of these people respect her. And because they don't respect her, they're basically treating her like garbage. And even worse, this white husband isn't standing up for her. I mean, a husband is supposed to stand up for his wife with his mother and even stand up for his mother to protect his mother from his wife, because this shows this man isn't a protector, isn't really understanding his role as a man, and he's making drama, and this drama is basically wreaking havoc in this household. And this woman is just sitting here wondering, hey, how did I get in this situation?
Same height. And so I simply tried to maneuver my way away from her because, number one, I was not trying to fight with her. Number two, I'm not trying to get myself in trouble here in Alaska. I am a black woman here in Alaska. And as y'all know by now, this is a white family. They can say anything to police.
Oh, now you figure it out. Oh, no, you figure it out. See, this woman sits here and now she figures out, oh, I'm a black woman in Alaska. Well, you should have thought about that before you came to Alaska. I mean, you should have thought about that when you were in Massachusetts. And this is the time when she gets her what they call N-word moment. And basically, this white woman gives this black woman her N-word moment and basically shows her, hey, if you get into it with me, you basically are gonna get locked up. She's a Caribbean woman, so Michael Gray, she's Caribbean. So Z Kid is funny, or that creamy golden skin of their body. Yeah, that's what they see. And again, I mean, I'm sitting there looking at this, and again, she's sitting up there. She finally wakes up and gets that. It's like she gets the ninja moment, but she doesn't get the wake up call. She's like, "Oh, they can say something and put me in jail." Well, you should have thought about that before you came over to Alaska. But all she was thinking about was Vienna sausage. All she was thinking about was getting that elevated social status. That's all she was thinking about in this situation. All she was thinking about was getting that Vienna sausage and hopefully getting on the road to possibly getting herself a biracial child. And basically thinking that she could go out here and get with this dude and things would work out as related to things of her getting that biracial child and getting involved with this white man. But this white man, again, had no respect for her, had absolutely no respect for her in this situation, and basically put her in a situation where she got jammed up. And she's sitting there. It finally dawns on her, oh, they can call the police on me, and it's my word against theirs. Well, had you did that type of critical thinking before you got involved with dude, you wouldn't be in this situation. You would have said, okay, let me see if this guy is going to get his stuff together. I'm going to, again, I'll stay in Massachusetts for 6 months and get my stuff on point. And if this guy doesn't get his stuff on point, I will basically charge him to the game and keep it moving.
Police. The next thing, I'm the one being arrested. So I was like, oh, heck no, right? So I try to
Then
get
she heard about Stacey Dash.
myself out of the situation. And mind you, again, she is pressed upon me. So of course, if I maneuver, I'm gonna touch her a little bit. But again, I was not trying to hit her. I was not trying to fight with her. I guess when I maneuvered, she said that I touched her. But again, it was obviously an accident. And guess what? If he wasn't pushing up on me in the first place, that would have never happened. All of a sudden, this woman shoves me, right? Cool. I still never did anything. I kept it cool. Then she goes to punching me in the shoulder. That was like the third time she put hands on me, and I said that was it. So I like, yeah. In my head, I was like, she got one more time to put hands on me, and then she put her hands on me one more time, and yeah, we got to fighting. Okay, so I shoved her down on the ground. I am not proud of it. Since then, I've asked God for forgiveness.
No, you're not asking God for forgiveness. You were deifying and worshiping white people, and you feared the repercussions of these white people. But she finally managed to defend herself. But again, wouldn't have been in this situation had she not been mesmerized by those crystal blue eyes or that creamy white skin. And again, the crystal blue eyes and the creamy white skin led to her being in a situation where she's getting in a cat fight with Mama. And as she's getting in a cat fight with Mama, I'm wondering where dude is. I mean, this is your woman, and you basically leaving her out here like this. I mean, this is not the behavior of a man. This is the behavior of a beta male. And again, beta males leave their woman to go out here and fight each other because they won't fight for them or stand up for them because they don't even know how to stand up for themselves. And that's what happened here. And again, this woman basically winded up in this situation where she basically is fighting Mama because Mama, again, is nesting. Mama wants to see her son be a part of her smooth world. Mama don't want to see her son grow up to become a man and leave her. So he allows this fight to go on, and she's sitting up here getting in a fight with Mama, not understanding that Mama again is gonna mess her up, and she thankfully got out of the situation, but is still completely clueless to how racist these people are.
Because this woman really got me out of character, shoved her on the ground. She started looking up at me with water in her eyes, like she was so surprised that that happened. It's like,
No, that's typical white women. That's typical white women. Whenever a person stands up for themselves, they put on the salty tears and then they call 911. So this woman doesn't know how blessed she was because had that woman called 911, this woman would be in a body bag and this white guy would be going back to business as usual.
you did what you did, and now you want to act surprised, right? And I went, I grabbed my stuff. I said, you think I forgot when me and Kennedy first got together? Not even a few months in, both you and your mother was trying to bribe my husband to divorce me, talking about, oh, if you divorce her, we'll give you a car.
This is pathetic. This is pathetic. Mama trying to bribe him into going to not marry this woman. This is some sad stuff here. I mean, this right here is pathetic. I mean, Mama should not be bribing her son. This is some weak stuff here. Weak all round. I mean, this woman sadly ain't really, she's not really stuff isn't up here, I think, because if a dude is sitting here and mama is looking to pay him to not marry somebody, that just shows this dude is he's softer than marshmallows. He's softer than triple fat goose. He's softer than cottonelle toilet paper. I mean, this dude is weak. I mean, this is some weak stuff. And sadly, this woman doesn't. She was just again so desperate to get a white man. She can't even sit there and see. Dude is disrespecting you because and passive aggressively disrespecting you. In passive, he's with you, but aggressively disrespecting you because he's not standing up for your relationship. And I mean, mama's saying, I'm gonna give you some money and to not marry this woman. I mean, you're not seeing how embarrassing that is. I mean, that's embarrassing when you really think about it. Just really embarrassing when you think about this whole situation. Just embarrassing that you have a woman just out here saying, "Oh, I'm going to pay my son not to marry somebody," when a son is supposed to be out here saying that, "Look, I've got my money together. I've got everything together as related to my life. And I'm not going to be thinking about things because, again, as a head, you're supposed to be like, look, this is my house. This is my stuff. I don't need to take no money from somebody." And again, if this guy had all this money, you think he would have had his parents settle his issues as related to things when he ran away. They would have settled it. But the whole thing is he's just a wimp all around. I mean, this guy basically, I have to wonder who takes the tampons, her or him. I have to wonder who needs the sanitary napkins, her or him. I mean, this guy, I have to wonder who's getting the Midol once a month. I mean, this guy is a wimp all around, just a complete wimp all around, and a wimp that just nobody would want to marry. I mean, again, there's a reason why those white women in town wanted nothing to do with dude. They didn't want nothing to do with dude because they saw how weak this dude was. But this woman, again, because she saw white skin, thought that he would be a viable partner. But it's clear to me this guy wasn't viable for anything because he's not ready to take on the standards of a man.
Literally. And tell me why my husband was actually considering it. Talking about, oh babe, let's just pretend that we're divorced so we can get the vehicle and then we'll get remarried. You know, he was even saying, oh, let's go through with the divorce and show them, because they wanted to see the proof. They wanted to see proof that my husband divorced me. Mind you, they had no reason to have a problem with me, right? But they tried to bribe my husband to divorce me so that they can give him a vehicle, guys. I kid you not. You can.
Wow. Just wow. He wanted him. They tried to bribe him with a car. So dude could have had the Camaro from his family and avoided all this. But if he divorced her, I mean, I don't know what to say here. This is a special brand of pathetic. I mean, this guy is an embarrassment, but we black men are told that this guy is the ultimate ideal. I mean, how is this guy any sort of ideal? He's a wimp all around. But we're told that this guy is the one you want to hashtag divest to and get away from the black community. You want to get away from the black community and black men because these white guys are better. But when I listen to this woman's story and I listen to her talk about this guy, I see someone no different than Pookie and Ray Ray, who basically only thing he has to offer is a racing car bed and basically ability to go to the store to get some Bonton potato chips. I mean, this guy basically is again pathetic all around. But if this guy was black, this woman would be cooking and roasting him. Even if he did an approach to this woman, even if he did an approach to this woman, she would go out here and be cooking and roasting, dude. I mean, that's what would be happening here. Yeah, Nightingale Nancy Nightmare. He's a special brand of pathetic because there's regular pathetic, and then there's this dude. I mean, a special brand of pathetic because your mama got you where she can go out here and tell you who to marry. I mean, I have to wonder if she's still going out here and making him cookies and milk. I mean, this is sad. I mean, no woman wants to see their man like this. I mean, no woman wants to even talk about their man like this, but the divestors will sit there and say, oh, we need to divest. I mean, what are you divesting to? Critical question I got to ask. What are you divesting to? Because if this is supposed to be better, I'm wondering how it's better. How is this dude better than the one than many of the black men in the black community? I mean, the only difference between this woman, this man, and Pookie is that Pookie be living in Section 8 housing, and this guy's basically living in a home that his mama owns. So in both cases, neither of these guys own anything. And Alcor Prince says that he feels like Mama drinks cheap vodka. Yeah, I think she's been drinking that Thunderbird or that Mad Dog 2020. I mean, I think that's what she's drinking as related to this situation. Is she getting some of that Mad Dog 2020 or some of that the dollar store liquors that people used to get, like the Thunderbird? I remember in the Bronx they used to have the Thunderbird. I mean, that dollar store stuff. She says, oh, he drinks 12 beers. I'm thinking she's drinking some of that cheap stuff like Pabst Blue Ribbon. I don't think she's a Beck's drinker. But the whole thing is that why are you in this situation? Critical question I got to ask this woman, because again, if he's acting like this is not the way a man operates. But many of these women don't know what a man operates because they never experienced a father, never experienced a father in their life. And because they never experienced a father in their life to model manhood for them and show things like a work ethic, show things like modeling a relationship with the mom where they treat the mom right, they sit there and think, oh, because this guy is white, because Madison Avenue in Hollywood tell you this guy is white, this is the kind of guy you want to be with. But this guy basically is an embarrassment all around, an embarrassment all around as related to things, just a complete embarrassment all around. And this woman sitting up here fighting over this guy that many of the white women would want nothing to do with. I mean, this guy basically is a textbook example of a leftover man because he's not a high value man. No, he's a $5. He's a guy who's on the level of a $5 food stamp. No, I would say a $20 food stamp without the book. That's where the level of pathetic is as related to this guy, who's a special brand of pathetic. Because if your woman is sitting there in a hotel room, I mean, this is no different than the black women who are sitting in Section 8 housing, the women sitting in Section 8 housing in the as related to the welfare state. And this is what she divested to. I mean, critical question I got to ask. You're in the same situation that the women who divest are in. And this woman is sitting up there making us say, oh, this is a great situation. Well, it's not, it's just the same pathetic situation. And this woman is basically on her own, the same way she would be on her own in Massachusetts. And again, the strong, independent woman can't connect the dots to see that you're in the same pathetic situation. That's what's really sad around here. I mean, this is the sad part of this story, and just sad all around.
Not make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. And so I remember I had even told his cousin about that situation. I said, yeah, like your grandma was really trying to bribe.
I mean, that's the end of her story, and I'm just gonna get up out of here and as related to that story, because that's just it's so pathetic. And again, I had to go in depth on this because I'd watched Mad Black 80s video and he did a great video on this, but I wanted to go get the barbecue out and just take this one to the barbecue because this is some embarrassing stuff. I mean, just it's oh man. I mean, they sit there and say, "Oh, these black men are so bad," but I look at this situation and it just shows how bad this situation is. And again, they sit there and say, "This is the top shelf white guy. These are the kind of white guys that black women should be going for." But we look at this whole situation, and it shows us that as related to this divestment, this side of town, the grass on the other side is not green. It's just as brown as the grass on the other side, and it tastes just as crappy as the grass on the other side. That's what we see here as related to this whole situation, this divestment disaster, this divestment disaster that basically shows how these white men that a lot of these swirlers and divestors want to brag about. They want to say these guys are so much better. They want to say these guys are so much better than black men. But I look at both situations, and the common denominator is the woman, and the woman is gravitating towards these men because she has low self esteem, she has low self worth, and she basically is attracting toxic men to her. And as she attracts these toxic men to her, she basically puts herself in the same dysfunctional situation, again, that women in the projects are in right now with Pookie and Jaheim and Ray Ray and all these other guys dealing with the same type of woman and dealing with the same mama who be drinking the Mad Dog 2020 and lamenting her dysfunctional situation. That's what we see here as related to this situation. And again, what's happening here is really just sad as related to this whole picture, as related to this divestment disaster, which we see going on. I mean, this is a divestment disaster. And this woman basically wound up in this disaster where she basically thought, oh, I'm going to go to Alaska with my white man, go on to happily ever after. But there's nothing happy about this ending for this woman. Basically, this woman isn't having that happily ever after with her simp, Charming. And what she's in is a situation where she basically wound up going from being a woman who was out here, who had a military career, to now being a woman in crisis because she got with a beta male who was a man in crisis. And when you hear these women bragging about these white men, we're seeing that they're out here divesting and they're not really getting that success that they love to brag about to us about, such as talking about swirling and divesting. No, we're not seeing them have a life to happily ever after. No, all we're seeing is a divestment disaster. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, and I'm really glad that everybody was able to come out to tonight's stream. And again, I want to say for this video, it's fair use under copyright law of 1976. And I really want you guys to, again, head over to Amazon.com and pick up some of the books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, like Esteem Horror in the Hamptons, Isis Amari's Revenge, Isis Dark Incubus, and John Haynes Illuminati. These are the books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, and you can find them all four of these on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And I've got my own comic book out called John Haynes at Death's Door. You can find this comic on lulu.com right now. And this was the first full SJS Direct comic, and I want to do more one day, but I just really thinking about it. But I really, again, enjoyed spending time with all of you guys tonight. And again, I really want to try to get my book sales up. So I'm asking everybody to pick up some of these books. It would really mean a lot to me. So I'm asking everybody to pick up those books on Amazon.com. I'll put the link in the chat in a minute. And that will helps out the channel. And that it helps out the channel and helps me to be able to stay on the air and be able to help me pay for bills like the internet. So when you guys buy books, that really, again, helps the channel. And I have nonfiction too, like I mentioned, like why 70% of Black women are single, and books like The Woman Crisis, which this woman desperately needs to read both of those books. And you can get those books too on Amazon.com as well. And those books have transformed women's lives, and you can get your life transformed as well. So you can get The Woman Crisis and why 70% of Black women are single on Amazon right now. And you can also help out the channel by going to drop a donation to the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That helps out a lot. I mean, that helps the channel, again, tremendously, because that helps me to be able to, again, pay for the internet and stay on the air, and pays for supplies. And again, every dollar you spend, I reinvest in the channel and in projects like the SJS Direct comics and books. So again, all your support is greatly appreciated, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to spend with me. And with that said, I'm going to be wrapping up tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be here for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.